You are listening to the iSpot Podcast, Adventures with the Trendsetter. I am your host, Brian Berga. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Got special guest, adult film star Karen Fisher joining us here on the show. But also, if you guys want to listen and support the show that I'm doing right now, make sure you also support the iSpot Podcast, the weekly podcast that Jeff and I put out, my tag team partner and I, the Jersey Wrecking Crew, and all our shenanigans, which we cover the world of professional wrestling. We post it out every Friday. You guys can follow us on all the social media platforms out there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all at iSpot Podcast. We have a brand new website out as well. Check that out if you want to be up to date in things that we're currently doing, not only on our social media platforms, but everything's linked on there as well, highspotpodcast.com. If you guys want to be really supportive, you can listen to us on all media platforms as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts. If you guys want to leave a 5-star rating review, we would appreciate it. It only takes a few seconds. You can also listen to the show on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Google Play, Stitcher, and Podbean, as well as the various networks that we're a part of and glad to be a part of, which is called the Cheap Pops Podcast Network, the Shining Wizards Radio Network, and B Plus Player Radio Network. We also have a YouTube channel out there, guys. Make sure you check that out as well. Just go to youtube.com, type in the word iSpot Podcast, link onto the channel, hit a like, subscribe button there, be a part of the crew, be a part of the various members now that have joined this channel, which we're putting content mostly daily as much as we possibly can, adding that video aspect to everything like that. And if you guys tune in and do that, you can look at certain interviews we've done over the recent couple of months, which we've done WrestleMania, we've done Ring of Honor, WrestleCon. We've also done interviews with a lot of talent from TNA as well. So you'll see all of that exclusively on our YouTube channel, iSpot Podcast. So guys, without further ado, moving on here, Karen Fisher, having her on the show is great. A huge admirer of her work, but just she's been doing this for quite a while and just continues to have momentum going her way and really knows how to make herself effective in the world that constantly changes in this business from where it was once when she started to where it is now, and she's just kind of flying high and continuing the momentum she's had throughout her career. Huge shout out has to go out to The Rub PR for setting this whole thing up. I mean, I clearly couldn't have done it without them. If you guys want to follow them on Twitter, I would definitely recommend it. They have the greatest press releases of all their clientele, and they're some of the biggest names in the adult film industry and some young up-and-comers as well. So check them out on Twitter at The Rub PR. They also have a website too. We see all the press releases, therubpr.com. Definitely check it out, guys. So here it is, guys. The Trendsetter talking to the one, the only, Karen Fisher here on the iSpot Podcast, Adventures with the Trendsetter. All right, guys, it's the iSpot Podcast, Adventures with the Trendsetter. I am the Trendsetter himself, Brian Berg, alongside my tag team partner and co-host, Jeff Martin. So excited about this interview, guys. Talk about legend. Talk about somebody I've wanted to interview for quite some time. Didn't get a chance to see her at AVN, but now she's graced us with her presence. Miss Karen Fisher, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving me a few minutes of your time. How are you today?
Good. I'm good.
Well, Karen, first thing that I want to get right out the door is, first of all, how you were doing. But secondly, something I always found pretty interesting that I always wanted to ask the performers when I get to speak to them is that when you go to the events like the conventions that you normally go to, what's it like from your perspective when you go see your fan base come and show their support to you? Is it does it ever sometimes become overwhelming? Is it sometimes a very humbling feeling for you?
I mean, it's always fun to meet fans and all that. I don't think it's overwhelming, though.
Karen, what's going on? This is Jeff. First of all, I'm glad you're doing great. Listen, I had to do research on this, and man, it was just tough research to Google you. But my question to you is you're very curvaceous, very
Jeff likes
beautiful.
The curves.
I love the curves. Do you carry it as a badge of honor? Being curvaceous, like, is it something that you're like, so many people are wishing they would have the curves. Some people, right now with being body conscious, do you wear it as a badge of honor?
Sure. Yeah. I think like growing up, I really wanted to be, I was really into ballet, and ballerinas aren't curvy. So even no matter how skinny I am, I have like hips and boobs and all of that. So I never had the body type. So I used to kind of hate it just because it was not like what I was going for. But now I've learned to like it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they broke the mold when they made you Karen. And like I said,
you like it. We love it, by the way.
We love it. And if you have it, flaunt it, basically, is the motto they say, too. When it comes to, the amount of what you've accomplished in this business, something I've always been curious as well is, depending on how the business was when you first started to where it is now, what are the most distinct differences do you feel have occurred in the business, whether it be the positive or the negative side?
Well, the main thing that I see the difference in is one, just the decline of the business in general, like companies going out of business and the whole industry shrinking. And that's mostly because of all the free stuff, and people aren't paying for stuff nearly as much, and you can't run a business if you're not making revenue. So a lot of companies have had to go out of business, and nobody's making as much money as they did. I remember I just had my own site for a really, really long time, so I don't remember being in mainstream porn in its heyday, but girls will tell me you could work as much as you wanted. You could work every single day if you wanted to. And now, if you work a couple times in a month, you're doing great. So it's just like really changed that way. And then now there's bills being passed that I am scared are going to make it even harder on us. So it's like not the best time for the porn world at the moment.
So, for example, your studio is American Honey, and of course, it's going to launch a website pretty soon. Is that something that you have a huge say of the content that you want to put out there, or how does that work? Do you want to have a lot of say in this website?
Yeah, I definitely have total control over what is goes onto the DVD, what goes onto the website. So that's really, really awesome.
It's definitely something that, from what I've spoken to a lot of performers in the adult film industry, is that kind of gives the power back to the performers. It's one thing working for certain companies, which I don't know what the numbers are. Basically, maybe you can educate me on this, where, I guess you get a percentage of it, but there's nothing like owning your own content because you know where that paycheck's coming towards. It's coming towards you directly. Am I right?
Yeah, I do get a paycheck, but I think no matter what, like websites, distribution deals like American Honey, you have to share that money with other people, but it is still mostly goes to me, so that's good. There's no such thing as like it's 100% mine and nobody else, because you have to pay for billing, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that, you have to pay for replication, like you have to pay for so many things.
So you're mentioning all the bills that might get passed that kind of will be not beneficial towards the porn industry. For example, what can porn stars do to, I guess, in a kind of like a slowing economy now for the industry? Like what are the ways that they can, hustle to make money?
Well, I think most girls now, do things like they do cam shows, they can focus more on feature dancing, they can do custom videos, stuff like that, like Sex Panther, phone sex. That's what most people have to do, myself included, a lot of different things. And then all together they make up, something you can live comfortably off of. But not very many people are just making their money off of porn anymore because it's just not really there.
You got to branch yourself out, right? You've got to find what the next, I guess, median is for the industry.
Yeah, which I don't really mind. I just don't like the fact that our freedom of speech is being threatened. And it makes me kind of feel, I don't know, creeped out. You know what I mean? That could happen in our country, because one thing I love about America is it's supposed to be such a free country, and I always thought of it being that way. But I hope that doesn't change.
your concern is shared by more than just you, Karen. You know, something like we were talking about before, where I asked you the question of, you know, the differences between the business and how it's evolved. But again, you know, with that being said, not only has the business evolved, but technology as well. And I would be remiss to say, you know, technology like social media, which is a huge tool that people use nowadays of branding yourself and marketing yourself out there. Do you see the benefits? Do you feel it's beneficial for you? Like we talked about, you know, some of the negatives of going out, and you see the adult film industry might be shrinking in size, but with social media, it's just so much more easier now to get your content out there and to have access and to be able to communicate with your fans.
That's true. Social media is a good way to get out there, but I don't know how, and I hate to sound like all gloom and doom, but
then don't, damn it.
How we're going to be around on social media. You know what I mean? I had my Instagram closed 3 different times, and I follow all of their stupid rules. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt Instagram is weird. They have so many different rules, and some don't make sense. And yeah, you're not the first adult performer to say that they post, for example, a picture of them in a bathing suit, and that gets blocked off, and their Instagram gets reported and deleted, and they have to get it back 17 times. So that can be frustrating about it. But again, you know, you do have a lot of access, and people have access to you, and know what you're doing, and know what to look forward to and expect within the coming year. But with that being said, too, with positives, there are clearly negatives. There obviously is negativity towards social media as well, in terms of all the scrutiny people get and all the negativity. Despite whatever business you're in, you're going to get it. How do you block that stuff off? How do you deal with all that stuff? Because it's definitely noise on the internet. Everybody's tough behind their keyboard. So what do you do to kind of alleviate that and stay positive-minded to remind yourself why you're doing this in the first place?
I usually just block them, and it doesn't get under my skin unless I just happen to be in kind of a crappy mood anyways, and then it doesn't help. But in general, I don't care what some random asshole says about me. You know what I mean? Because if they're going to search me out to insult me, in my mind, I think, how pathetic are they that they have nothing better to do? Because for me, if I don't like somebody that's on the internet, say like a performer or any other celebrity, I'm not going to go follow them and send mean tweets. I'll probably just ignore them. You know what I mean? Because I have a life. So it really doesn't bother me, and I just block them and move on.
Is there still like that competition in the industry still amongst
fellow performers?
I mean, there's always competition.
Is it more with yourself, Karen? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But is it more competition with yourself or competition with like other companies and other performers that are coming into the industry?
Honestly, I'm sure there's both. There's all of the above. I don't really pay attention to any of that. I just kind of focus on myself.
And I think that's the best way to do it. You can't really worry about, things that you can't control or people that you don't know. You just worry about yourself, do your thing. Now let's delve into something that I love. It's always been, I've always loved the whole MILF aspect of the porn industry.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously,
so popular.
Yeah, it is. So it's every guy's fantasy. I'm sure it definitely has been mine. Obviously you always have like maybe that hot.
I know what you meant, Jeff.
Hot mom, and
exactly.
So. Talk about that aspect. How do you like that? Do you again? Is it a badge of honor to be called a MILF?
I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't really pay that much attention to it. I guess it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, you have the curves, rock it. You're called a MILF. Why don't you rock it, Karen? Right? I mean, hey, if they have it, flaunt it, and basically, if they're I wouldn't say labeling you, but if they kind of put you in that type of genre, why not take advantage of it, which you clearly have been doing a great job throughout your entire career. And what a career it's been, Karen. And it's not over anytime soon, guys, so don't think I'm kind of saying this in past tense here. But, in terms of all the experience you've had in your life, where you're a realtor, you were a bartender, cocktail waitress, exotic dancer, you have a nursing degree. How do you feel like all those tools and those experiences you've done have helped you in terms of being mentally ready for the business at hand, because we cover professional wrestling in the High Spot podcast. I don't know if you watch it, but if you do, you would know too that professional wrestling, it's so, first of all, highly competitive, but at the same time, it's not an easy thing to do, nor is the adult film industry. Every Joe Schmo would probably, I can get into it. Not everybody can. So how have those life experiences you've done prepared you mentally to deal with it? Because it's not just the physical aspect of going out there and performing the scene, but also being very business savvy and mental to make sure you don't get taken advantage of.
I just think, because honestly, I was in the business before I did really any of those things. Well, I guess, you know what? I was a cocktail waitress and bartender first.
Mm-hmm.
So that did, if anything, it made me appreciative of the money that I can make now, and not having to work so hard, because it can be a lot of work as a waitress.
Hey, you guys have crazy hours. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
Always on your feet, moving around. Sometimes you depending on a slow night or busy night.
So or they're on sets for a tremendous amount of hours.
Yep.
That too, and also just, it made me more grateful to be able to do this. And then if somebody is an asshole, I can block them. Whereas if I was a waitress, I just had to deal with them.
I was about to say, if you're a waitress, you could just slap them in the face.
Well,
yeah, but then you might get fired.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
So that's not good either. Anyways, and everything else I think has just come with time, just being older and more mature. And I read a lot of business books. I don't know, honestly, if any of it came from my schooling. I guess some of it did, but sometimes I feel like that was kind of a waste of money and time. But it's always good to have something like that. Even though I'm not using it at the moment, but most of my knowledge of business has just come from reading and being older and more mature. And then also being able to perform. I've just always been more of an open-minded sexual person. It's not really something you can learn.
So you're always comfortable with sex?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so when you're doing the waitressing and the cocktail waitressing, when exactly is it that you got involved? What made you curious about it? Obviously, again, you said you're comfortable with sex. So what made you get anywhere even interested in the industry? What caught your eye?
Okay, so I was a stripper too, and I did that for quite a while, and I always thought about being a feature dancer, but I never really, and if somebody doesn't know what a feature dancer is, it's basically a club hires a porn star to come out and feature at their club. So we had a lot of features where I worked, and I always thought about doing it, and I kind of chickened out because I was really young and probably not ready for it. Even though some of these girls now are ready for it when they're really young. Anyways, but I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally one day I just took the plunge, and this was kind of when adult sites were first starting. So I first did my first layout for Score magazine, and then after that I started my site, and I just did that for a while because when the adult sites first started, you could make so much money off having just your own site. So it didn't really make sense to still be doing shoots for professional companies.
Yeah, of course. Karen, I always find this interesting because for somebody like you who's accomplished so much in the business, in any profession, it's amazing in terms of longevity you've had and what you've done in it. Do you have time, maybe now or maybe during a few years ago in the past, do you have a chance to sit back now and kind of reflect and be like, wow, I accomplished quite a bit, and be proud of yourself and what you've done so far?
You know what? I never think about that. I guess I'm just always focused on what's next. Somebody else was asking me that too, and I was like, gosh, I guess I don't really think that way.
Yeah, you're always looking forward. Eventually, though, you'll look back and be like, "Wow, that's a pretty amazing career I had," and you're still going. And so the website American Honey XXX.com is going to launch soon. We've talked about that, so let's talk about a couple of movies you've done here, and what are you comfortable with? What's your preference? What do you like to do? Because this has to be fun too. You have to enjoy it as well. So, what do you like as far as like performing? In these films. What is your preference? And just give us a little heads up on that.
For me, I really like threesomes, like two girls on one guy. But I like boy, girl, or girl, girl too, but threesomes are my favorite. So if you're a member of my site, you'll see a lot of that. But I also like, I kind of like getting into character. So I like to have like a little bit of a storyline that makes it more exciting to me. I know most guys don't care about it, but I like it.
Wait, you mean guys don't look at the storylines? Are you breaking some news here? I mean, like, what?
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Give me a plot and a twist at the end and then some sex in the middle and I'm good.
Well, that's any movie you go to nowadays, Jeff, seriously, because the rated R nowadays is the closest to softcore porn than you've ever seen before back in your time. But what kind of characters do you like playing? When you have that ability to portray a character, what's the ones you kind of gravitate towards? Like, oh, I like doing this because it allows me to expand more of my character.
My favorite, and this actually wasn't for my own production, but maybe I'll have to bring the character back a little bit different though. So I'm not totally copying. I played a psychologist, a lesbian psychologist who ended up like seducing and marrying her patient. So that was probably my favorite one.
Oh, what was that? What was the title of that show production?
Lesbian psychodrama.
Love it. That title alone gets me into me into renting that DVD.
Well, it's not a volume. Is it like volume 1 or 2, or no? It's just the original.
You know what? I'm not sure. I think it was just the original.
Yeah, because I'm not a fan of sequels, so I prefer original pieces myself. When I see sequels and trilogies, I'm like, yeah, they've completely lost me from the third to the original. They completely gone so far to the other direction, it makes no sense anymore. But that's interesting. It's cool because at the same time, as well as you're performing, you're also portraying certain characters. Now, for example, in professional wrestling, it's really cool because, these athletes out there, they're portraying, extensions of themselves, but the volumes turn up really high. So the connection, the authenticity is really real. So what's the major difference when we see Karen Fisher on camera than when we see Karen Fisher doing her normal things during the course of the day?
What's the difference?
Yeah. Is it very closely linked? What you portray on camera to you are in your normal life, or is it more like you can flip a switch and be like, all right, cameras are on, lights are on, let's go to work, and when it's all over, they yell cut, flip the switch off, all right, I'm back to being my normal self?
I mean, yeah, I guess they're pretty close.
Karen, what I want to ask you, one final one for me is, obviously we're talking about, when you work and the lights go on, camera action, and then you have your personal life. For you, what do you do to unwind? What do you do on your off time? Do you like to shop? Are you one of those people that just like to go travel different places? Do you, like wine? What do you like to do? What do you do on your off time, and what do you keep yourself, on an even level keel?
I like all of those things. I do like I like to hike. I like outdoor activities a lot. I do like wine. I think I said that before. But I'm
Don't we all?
Yeah.
A little liquid courage.
I like to go to the pool and just relax, or to go to the beach and just relax. I like to read. Those are some of my favorite things to do to relax.
Do you find guys get intimidated? I don't know your relationship stats, but do you find it that guys will get intimidated if they recognize you to come up to you, or do you find guys get intimidated in general? And do pickup lines work on you at all? Do you like that? Do you find that cute, or you just want someone to be real?
Yeah, I really don't like pickup lines that much. And I don't really know. I don't feel like I'm intimidating, but I guess people might. I mean, in general, if somebody doesn't know me and they know what I do, it's kind of a weird thing to walk up to somebody you don't know and be like, oh, I love masturbating to your videos.
That's a great conversation starter.
Hey, there you
Isn't
go.
it? That's original.
So in that sense, maybe I'm intimidating just because it's kind of like awkward. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think of myself that way. I'm not sure if other people see me like that.
That's a great conversation starter. I'm sure if I were to mention in the streets, hey, I masturbated to you last night, and I wanted to ask you this question. But
they already have the advantage because they've seen her naked, though, so they have the total advantage.
Yeah, I would imagine for a guy, half the battle's won because I've already seen you naked, basically. But no, what I wanted to say was, do you find yourself recognized a lot when you're out in the streets doing your normal activities during the course of the day?
People don't usually say anything to me if they recognize me. It's rare.
Be little whispers. Like,
would that be kind of awkward? For example, if I were to see you, say, in the convenience store and you're in the grocery aisle, hey, my name's Brian, just want to say I'm a huge fan of yours. Is that weird for you, or do you appreciate when they come up to you? Of course, I'm not coming up to you saying, oh my God, I love you, and going gaga over you. But when people come up to you and say, hey, listen, I'm a fan, I appreciate your work, and move on with the rest of the day, do you appreciate that, or you prefer not to be approached?
It depends on the situation. I do have a daughter, so if I was with her, I'd be pissed if anybody said anything. You know what I mean? I'd be like, come on, use your brain. That's not a good idea. But other than that, I don't know. I wouldn't really mind. It might embarrass. I get embarrassed easily, which is weird because what I do, but it is embarrassed. It is easy to make me feel like a little bit awkward, but I would, I wouldn't really mind that. I might just feel like embarrassed, like shy. That's it.
Oh yeah. Do you think you're shy by nature, or are you very open? I mean, just discussing this, you seem like to be very kind of. I consider myself an introvert, so like I don't really come up and speak a lot. But when I do have a conversation, I can talk about anything.
Yeah, when I would say if I don't know someone, I'm usually more shy.
And you're adorable when you're shy, Karen. That's all I can say.
She observes her surroundings, and then when she's ready, then she'll feel like she can chime in.
Yeah, you have to feel comfortable. One more for me, Karen. I thank you so much for your time here. This kind of goes back to when I asked you, do you get a chance to enjoy everything you've accomplished? Because for us here at the Nice Spot Podcast, it's all about the next step, moving forward, and clearly branding yourself and making yourself more well-known out there. And sometimes you get lost and you don't enjoy the journey as much as worrying about the destination. Do you consider yourself highly critical, meaning that depending on what it is you do, whether you're looking back at your work or looking at stuff for the website that's about to launch, are you highly critical of stuff like that, or do you you go with the flow and whatever the camera captures or whatever feels good at the time we're gonna go with?
No, I'm pretty easygoing.
Yeah,
and that's what we love about Karen.
Easygoing conversation with Karen Fisher. Follow her on Twitter at Sexy Karen Fisher, and on Instagram at Karen Fisher XXX. One last one for me. Are you a person that is attracted more to a sense of humor, or does it physical looks first?
Jesus Christ,
first?
Jeff, just ask Karen out on a date for
No. I just want to know because it's good to get the perspective from.
No, it's true
from her.
I mean, ideally, somebody would have both, right? That would be the ideal. But I would take somebody with a good personality over like an asshole who had a shitty personality. You know what I mean? Or like somebody with not even an asshole. Some people are just really boring.
Yeah. Then I have a chance there, Trendsetter. Karen, thank you so much.
Yes, in your dreams, Jeff. Karen, we thank you so much. Like I said, really appreciate you. Are you coming down to the East Coast anytime soon this year?
I might be later this month. You never know.
Ooh, I like that. It's a tease, Jeff. It's a tease.
That's what they call in the business a tease.
Well, if you are, we're in the New York metropolitan area. Karen, if you're anywhere nearby, please keep in touch. We'd love to have you back on the show again. Love to do the interview in person, get you on camera as I get myself all dolled up for you and try to impress you in some way, in some capacity. But
and I'll work on my jokes. and I'll work on my
Jeff will work on his pickup lines
charm.
for you.
Very nice.
But Karen, like I said, we thank you so much, and we hope you have a great day, and love to have you back on the show again in the near future.
Thank you, guys.
And a special thanks goes out to Karen Fisher, guys. If you guys want to follow her and keep up to date to what she's doing, definitely check her out on social media, Twitter, Instagram. Check her out on Twitter at Sexy Karen Fisher. Instagram, it is at Karen Fisher XXX. And also visit her website as well, sexykarenxxx.com. Again, huge shout out goes to the Rub PR. Guys, follow them on Twitter. Visit their website, therubpr.com, for the latest clientele they have and the latest press releases they have for the world of adult entertainment. Guys, definitely check them out. Worth the look. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the High Spot Podcast, Adventures with the Trendsetter. I greatly appreciate you guys listening in, giving your patience and your support, because the reason why I do this, and Jeff and I do this for the High Spot Podcast we post every Friday, is for one reason and one reason only. It is for you guys, the crew.